guys know Sheena Baharudin. I am a lecturer at TEDx University. I am a spoken word artist, or so I assume I am. And I have a confession. I have been doing spoken word performances for the past 5 years. I am not young, I am old. And after 5 years, every time I step on stage, I have the same kind of feeling. This is the same kind of feeling that you have when you're about to fall in love or you're falling in love for the first time. It's the same kind of feeling when you know you're going to get your heart broken for the first time. And it's the same kind of feeling that you know that you're going to face the biggest fear of your life. That kind of feeling that tells you you're about to die. And I have that same kind of feeling right now. So you wonder, why am I still doing this after 5 years? Because I love poetry. And this is why I'm still doing it, even though I'm scared like mad. Now I have been practicing at home, and I'm using my GarageBand, not mine now, yeah? I'm using GarageBand, recording myself and say, you know what, I can do this. I can incite them like nobody's business. And I listen to my recording and say, okay, I'm gonna do this again. I'm gonna incite them like nobody's business. And I have all the template in my head, and right now on stage, I have lost everything. All that I have is your faces, and you are beautiful. So I guess that's better than actually remembering the template. Now the second thing that I need to do is to actually figure out how to do this. Voila. Now, out of the 5 years I've been doing it, let's just say, I assume that 50% of those times I have made mistakes while performing. And I realized that, you know what, maybe after doing this for 5 years, maybe I am better at making mistakes than actually doing poetry. Maybe I'm better in just being, to be human by the end of it. And I guess that's pretty cool, because there's this one 17th century poet named Jean de La Fontaine, which is obviously French for awesome man. And what he said is this: we are so made that when anything fires our souls, impossibilities vanish. And I truly believe in him, because the only thing that fires my soul will be poetry, and it is amazing. All impossibilities just vanish, guys. Because last year, it started with an idea. The idea was, instead of having just poetry events and theater events and dance events, and we're segregating society more, I decided to bring them all in, so it's multidisciplinary. So from that idea, I came up with something called Numinous. Now, Numinous is a bi-monthly event, and it's performing arts, and it has been amazing. We have had 31 performers, dancers, capoeira artists. We've had performing poets and performance artists and musicians and so many more. Jamal Raslan has appeared twice, and I know that he's your favorite inciter, one of your favorite inciters, so he's been there. And if I was to tell myself 10 years ago that this is something that I could accomplish, I think that she wouldn't be so surprised. Voila. Everybody goes through that awkward phase. I call it the awkward phase. Now the thing is that, hello Sheena, back then in high school, even though it wasn't smooth sailing, I have to say, it was very rough. Unlike Asha girls, very, rebellious, strict, I was the head prefect. Nobody likes the head prefect. Yeah? I was the head prefect. I was clearly, I'm still overweight, but still, at that time I was overweight because I was eating burgers at 1 a.m. in the morning. Yeah, and I had this low self-esteem, and people had no idea because I have all these moles on my body, and I'm thinking like, because this is Terengganu, by the way, mu Hindu ke mu Muslim? It's really, really hard, you see? And even though I smile, and they call me Moza Burger, like a whole busload of people go like, Moza, Moza, and then go like, yeah, baby, baby, baby. If I still do that, yeah, you are still affected by it. How many of you were teased when you were in high school? High school can be ferocious. Even college can be ferocious, Taylor's college students. Yeah? So sometimes you need a way to express yourself. You know, instead of just keeping it all inside and itself eating inside, you just have to express it. And I feel like spoken word can really do that well. In fact, I have a piece called Moles of Mine, because I can't come with anything more creative than that. And it tried to encapsulate that experience of being in high school. And it goes something like this. By the time I was 10 years old, a number of moles have already made my body and my face their home. I have one on the middle of my forehead, one on the right corner of my eye, one under my bottom lip, one on the left side of my chest, one on my finger, and one on the surface of my soul. The very first one found by my father when I was just 3 months old. And oh, how I dreamt of having these moles falling off me like leaves on a hot, sticky summer day. But from primary to high school, these moles have decided to stay. And oh, if I was ever given the freedom to choose, I would have chosen sticks and stones, and I would have let them break my bones, for that would have been better than having those mean names finding their way from every Monday to Friday just to hurt and haunt me. So gradually, I began to find comfort in the outskirts of my imagination. You cannot call it defense mechanism. Like that first time when I saw the face of the beautiful Kuan Yin and the gorgeous Green Tara, I knew that I just wanted to be like them, because this mole is a third eye endowed with divine power. And if I just closed my eyes hard enough, I could actually see glimpses of Nirvana. And then the first time when I saw the statue of the sleeping Buddha, I wanted to be just like him. So I closed my eyes and tried to imagine all the suffering suffered at high school as just facets of samsara. Because this is the best way for me to embrace my dharma. Because this is how I should face my karma. And sometimes Sheena the Muslim would morph into Sheena the Hindu. And I was stretched out thinking like, here I am with my very own fabulous potu, which is a marking only found on the foreheads of feisty deities. It is a symbol of an ancient civilization, Eastern and almighty. And I would look at those bullies and knew that just like the mighty goddess Kali, I too could dance them into annihilation. See me scatter them like dust with my own rhythmic anger, fury and wrath. But I wouldn't, and I shouldn't, for I am the Trimurti. I have the beginning, the middle, and the ending inside of me. I am Shiva, Vishnu, and... I forgot. Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. I am creator, preserver, and destroyer. I am divine, thus I am kind, and even though I could not speak Tamil, at least I gave it a try. But that was a long time ago, and now, who knows? I might just remove these moles earlier than I planned to do so. And when the time finally comes for me to let them go, I will still write each and every one of them an epitaph for me to engrave on their imaginary tombstones, because this mole is indeed a third eye. Allow me to see you for who you are, my dear. And this mole reminds me that I should see everything with a childlike wonder, and that this mole reminds me to always smile and speak good of others, and that this mole reminds me to move on and forgive all of my fears, and that this mole gives me poetry when normal speech just would not work, and that this mole on the surface of my soul has brought me to all the places I have arrived and departed, and that this soul underneath the surface of my moles have brought me to all the people that I have loved wholeheartedly, with all my body, with all my soul, and a considerable number of moles. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So, high school began and ended. And I have to say that now that I am old, there are several lessons I have learned. If you ever feel like doing spoken word, there are so many avenues to do it. Jamal Raslan and his Poets Passports are doing their stuff in Cyberjaya. And then you have Numinous also. You're always welcome to do it. We have so many open mic gigs in KL. Please do it if you ever feel like expressing yourself. And this is what I have to share with you. What can poetry teach us? Well, it teaches us that we are all the same. I took this picture without them knowing it because I was crashing their wedding in Indonesia. But I have to say that they look amazing. And I was looking at all of them, and they look beautiful. And I'm thinking, you know what? I may not know you, but I can love you. If I get to know you, I will realize that we share the same stories and we are all the same. And this is a kind of realization that I have as you read more poetry or as you read more poems, because we are all human beings. And I also learned that you always have to open up to new possibilities. I was just 23 years old and I told myself, I'm going to do it. I've never performed poetry before, so what I did is I just picked up the phone, because there was no handphone at that time. Just picked up the normal phone while waiting for my modem to start working. And then after that, I just called the person who was doing an open mic gig and said, I want to do and I want to perform. Can I do this? And she said yes. And after that, I said, oh my God, what I just did. Okay. That was a good start. And I also learned that poetry can teach you to wonder and also wonder more. So always live your life as if today is the end of your life. And then by the time as the sun starts to move from here to there, you should gasp more, because life is beautiful. And we have been living around here in this earth, I don't know, maybe you're 18 years old, so young. Maybe you're 10 years old, God damn it. Maybe you're 30 years old, which is a beautiful age, by the way. Right? But beauty is all around you. You should gasp more. And you also, by the end of the day, when you see the sunset, you should sigh deliciously more, because we only have one life and it's very, very temporary. So I'm going to share you with this. I used to start as this angry black woman. Because you know why? I had nobody to look up to. So I was watching Def Jam poets, and they're all usually African Americans. So I'm thinking, imitation is flattery. So I was doing all this, girl, for a while. All good. And after that, I started to get my own voice. I was the angry, can't say brown, but yeah, angry brown / Malay woman. All my poems are pretty indignant in tone. And then as I move on, of course, there are certain situations where you have to be angry and you have to be emotionally charged to perform. But sometimes I realize that by the end of it, you really have to focus on the only thing that matters. And the only thing that matters, you can call me a romantic or an idealist, but I think love is the only thing that matters. By the end of it all, we're all just beautiful souls. And I want to show you something. There's this one poem that I can say is my favorite poem of all time. And what is beautiful about poetry is that they tend to take mundane stuff, normal stuff like eating breakfast and going to class, and then turn it into something that's beautiful and universal. So there's this one poem called Maps, and it was dedicated to my father and to my mother. And that's me, by the way. So fresh. Yeah. So one thing fun about my parents is that my dad drools when he sleeps. He still does that. I love you, Daddy. My mom has OCD. Beautiful combination. Yeah? He is sleeping, drooling away, and then she said, you know what? I need to clean the sheets right now. And I don't know how they gel well together, but apparently they did. They are the most ridiculously loved up people ever. I'll be looking at them and I will say, can you please, I love you, but please get a room. And they're still doing it now. So these are the kind of people that reminds you that, you know what, it's going to get better. There's light at the end of the tunnel. There's so much darkness around us. But, these are the certain people that you hold on to and just remind you that everything is going to be okay. So the title of the poem is Maps, and I'm going to dedicate to all of you right now because you're feeling very comfy on your bean bags, getting really close to La La Land. So I'm going to use a very La La-ish poem just for you. This one is called Maps. You have this most annoying way of sleeping, my darling. Eyes half open, trance-like state, contorting body, unlike a yogi, and this one unstoppable, drooling mouth that will create maps. No, atlases of a strange world across the canvas of our king-size IKEA bed. Now, I have tried to stop this flow of powerful currents in river-like proportions that just wouldn't seem to change its course, let alone dry up on its own or by force. Well, unless unless if I sellotape your mouth. But you will probably drown in your sleep, which honestly is a hassle if you ask me. Not because of the cleaning up I have to do or the fact that I have OCD, but because I love you too much, honey. So I guess that is one brilliant idea I have to let go and set free. Instead, right before I change our sheets, I would trace this curious map of your mischievous nocturnal doings. Look, here is Malacca. Here is Malacca, the ancient town of techno music blasting betas, where bygones were never bygones in the first place. Well, that's what you said, because right here is where our eyes first met. And here is Syria, once a part of the great kingdom of Mesopotamia, where we went backpacking for 3 whole weeks. Do you remember how you proposed to me over cups of hot piping mint tea, where you burn your tongue and I kiss your lips as the sun sets over Tigris and Euphrates? And here's the North Pole, sandwiched between India and Singapore, where we plan to spend our 50th anniversary all cold, huddled up and shaken to the brim. And yet no matter how silly the idea may seem, we are convinced that the sights of the Aurora Borealis is going to make it all worth it. And here, right here, where your cheek touches my cheek, where my hand still finds your hand in the dark in between sleep, is our very own Mecca, Medina, Amritsar, Bodh Gaya, Jerusalem, Varanasi, on the banks of the Ganges, Vatican City, a holy, holy place where all borders cease to exist, and there is only us floating out of the abyss and into the midst of dreamy, dreamy possibilities. Thank you. Okay, so I just want to remind you, whatever that fires your soul, hold on to it. Never let it go. You only have one life, so live it to the fullest, guys. I love you all. Thank you.